Hi, I just want to tell you a little bit today about our poetry project that's going to conclude the poetry unit that we've been working on for the past few weeks. So basically, you need to do three things. Find a poem and strip it. Second, write one fixed form poem. So that will be something like a sonnet, a rubaiyat, a villanelle, or kind of like Emily Dickinson. So using the poems that we've read and looked at as the basis for one kind of fixed or structured poem. And third, write a free verse poem. So something like The Legend or one of the Neruda Odes or something like that. So first, fixed form poems. They have a fixed number of lines, like a sonnet, 14 lines, a villanelle, 19 lines. So they're not really that long. The lines usually have about 10 syllables per line, so that can help you gauge about how long or how many words to have in each line. The best way to go about it is first to free write your ideas. So don't think about the rhyme pattern or anything. Just think about writing about something. You can write your poem about anything. It can be about a favorite person. It can be about a favorite season. It can be about a holiday. It could be about your cat or a pet. You can write about anything. But free write your ideas first. Later on, figure out where you're going to rhyme things. So don't focus just on the end word of each line. Just write like you would normally write. You can figure out the words and later create rhyme. In your poems, you need to use three kinds of figurative language. So in each poem, you should try to include simile or alliteration or hyperbole, onomatopoeia, personification, metaphor. You can pick and choose whatever you want to use. With that, the best thing also is to later try and work that into your poem rather than trying to like start out writing a metaphor. Later on, try and make those comparisons or figure out that kind of language. There'll also be a handout in Schoology that you can look at to help you think about creating that kind of language. Here's just an example. So sonnet, 14 lines, right? Rhyme pattern, A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, and G, G at the end. Not really that long, but just when you're writing it, don't think about stopping at the end. Just write your paragraph, write in the form of sentences. This is really only like 2 or 3 or 4 sentences long, the length of this sonnet. Next poem, Stopping by Woods. This is a rubaiyat, right? A, A, B, A, B, B, C, B, C, C, D, C, D, 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 D. So you can emulate these poems that we've looked at in your poetry. Next. You could mimic Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. It uses lots of repetition. ABA, 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 ABA. The pattern is really simple, right? If you count the syllables per line, grave men near death who see with blinding sight. Each line is about 10 syllables long. It's the same in a sonnet. The previous poem, My little horse must think it queer. Every line has about 8 syllables, and that's how they kind of gauge how long the lines are going to be. But don't worry too much about being really exact with that. As long as you're close, just think in terms of having about 10 syllables per line. Use your ear, whatever sounds right to you. So you could write a villanelle like Dylan Thomas. You could emulate Emily Dickinson. Usually her pattern is kind of like this, A, B, C, B, right? And her lines alternate. So the first line, the moon was but a chin of gold, 8 syllables. Next line has 6, a night or two ago, 6. Next line, 8. And now she turns her perfect face, 8, upon the world below, 6. And most of her poetry, or a good chunk of it, follows this pattern, A, B, C, B, and having 8 syllables alternating to 6, back to 8, next 6, next 8, next 6, and that's how it goes. It flows like that. So you could emulate Emily Dickinson. So first off, you have to write a fixed form poem, and I consider those sonnet, villanelle, rubaiyat, or mimicking Emily Dickinson. The second poem you have to write is a free verse. So that has no set rhyme pattern, although it could have some rhyme, but there's not a pattern. There's no set line length or syllables, so you can have long lines, short lines, any length is okay. So you might think of poems like The Legend or the Neruda Odes that we looked at. If you wanted to, you could write a rap or set of bars. Some poems that we've looked at that you could emulate would be this poem by Walt Whitman, right? We heard this in the iPad Air commercial. That you are here, that life exists in identity, that the powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. It could be like this poem by Pat Moore that we read, same song, 2 stanzas. This is a free verse. You could emulate Pablo Neruda writing an ode, thinking about something that you want to praise or exalt, revere, something like that. This is just another poem by Robert Frost that I like. It's kind of a free verse, but it has some rhyme, right? Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. From what I've tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. It's a pretty cool poem. I like this one. You could emulate Garrett Hongo. His poem is more narrative, so it's like telling a story. This isn't the whole poem, this is just part of it, but that could be a kind of free verse that you do. Or you can write a set of haikus. Now, haikus are fixed form, but I think they're so simple that if you do a set of haikus for your free verse, you do like 5 haikus, right? 5 times, that's 15 lines. It's pretty short, it's easy. But if you write haikus, try and make them thematic, right? Focus on one idea that they're all related to or something. Maybe that could help them better stick together. Or you could write a set of limericks, right? Which are kind of, could be fun to write, which also have a set pattern, but I also like haikus. I consider these a simpler form, so I'm grouping them with free verse poems, even though they're not really, they might not technically be free verse. When you submit your poem, it should include your poem, 3 kinds of figurative language in each poem that you write. So with a legend, something that indicates, oh, here's where alliteration is used. Here's where personification is used. Here's where I used a simile. Here's where I used onomatopoeia, that kind of thing. And then you have to write a paragraph that explains what you were trying to express in your poem and the figurative language that you used. There will be some sample student submissions in Schoology, so please look at those to see kind of what your submission might look like. With that said, that's it. Good luck on writing your poems.